update from the Senate President or House Speaker as to whether they're just going to gavel in and gavel out or actually take up some of these issues. And also wanted to hear your thoughts on the Birthright Citizenship executive order being struck down early on in this court battle.
Well, so on birthright citizenship, the question is not just birthright citizenship writ large, it's do people in the country illegally that birth kids, do they get birthright citizenship? Because I would imagine the majority of people in this room got citizenship by birth. Your parents are American, you're born on American soil, you don't have to fill out paperwork, you're a citizen when you're born. That's the way, and I don't think anyone's questioning that in respect to American citizens. The issue is was the 14th Amendment written with the intent that someone could illicitly cross a border, birth a child, and then that child becomes a U.S. citizen? Clearly that was not what they were looking to do. What they were looking to do was overturn the Dred Scott case from the 1850s, which basically Dred Scott was a freed slave, and he basically lost in court because they said you can't be a citizen because you're black. Lincoln criticized that. Lincoln ran against it. Obviously we fought the Civil War, and then when they did the post-war amendments, 14th Amendment citizenship clause was to make clear that you couldn't discriminate on race with respect to citizenship. It was never intended to apply in situations like this. It was also a different time period, though. We didn't really even have a lot of immigration then, so they probably weren't even thinking about it. But clearly we know that most of the judges are going to be hostile to the Trump executive order because you're taught in law school that it doesn't matter, you can parachute in, birth tourism, and do it, and somehow that's fine. That's what they teach folks. I don't think that's the correct interpretation of the 14th Amendment. So I mentioned the other day on the social accounts, this is going to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's never actually decided the issue as if you have people here illegally have a child, is that birthright citizenship. People will point to the case of the Chinese immigrants in the 1890s, but they were legally here. And I do think that distinction matters. And then they said the child of the legal immigrants was birthright. But birth tourism, where people just come from a foreign country with no connection to here, have a child, and it's a citizen, that is not what that was anticipated to do. So it's going to end up in the Supreme Court. And I think the question is how many votes are there to kind of reevaluate that historical, although I think wrong, understanding that people have been taught in law schools over the years that somehow it doesn't matter, you can parachute in from anywhere you want, and that's what birthright citizenship is. That was not the intent of the 14th Amendment. That was not how it was originally understood, and it's created a huge negative incentive for people to come. And there is a birth tourism industry, but it also helps facilitate illegal immigration, because if people think if they can just get here, have a child, then it's kind of an anchor, and then they can never be sent away. And so I think it's created a lot of problems. So it's going to work its way up. I don't know how many votes on the court to reevaluate it. I'm confident there'll be some, but eventually this is going to be, I think there's going to be a reappraisal of this eventually. Maybe it's on this executive order going to the Supreme Court. Maybe after a couple new justices are put on. Who knows? There could even be a constitutional amendment. But most people look at that, and we're one of the few countries, I think there's only a handful that have anything like this. Most other countries do not do it, and I think it's created a lot of negative incentives here in the United States. Yes, sir.